My name is James Wiley, and I represent the life-saving project, reflectionsfromwithin.net. Today, I'm going to discuss ideas around the hot topic of the Unitedhealthcare CEO Brian Thompson's shooting suspect, Luigi Mangione. Some consider him a hero. Others say he's a coward. I have a different opinion. My opinion is that Luigi Mangione is the face of desperation. The desperation is real for countless people in America, and Luigi's actions reveal a volatile danger in America. I say that desperation leads to desperate acts. Our goal at Reflections from Within is to recognize and intercept this kind of desperation before it escalates into acts of destruction. Unfortunately, desperate acts happened, and Brian Thompson died. But now there is a flare in the sky where many people are watching the light shining through the darkness. A fuse has been lit. So what happens now? And in retrospect, what possibly could Luigi have done differently instead of shooting Brian in the back? Yeah, I said it. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Regardless of due process gamesmanship, Luigi has essentially confessed, and the evidence tells a compelling story. Let's actually look at the problem and potential solutions. The attorneys can play their role as litigators, and they have an important role to play in what happens to Luigi now. But I am not going to gloss over the reality that he committed murder. I am taking a hard stance on this because I want to be able to have a meaningful discussion about what is going on. Tap dancing around the circumstances, creating this national sense of desperation, isn't going to save future lives. And I want to save lives. I have seen that many people have since come forward sharing their horrific personal experiences with UnitedHealthcare. People sharing their stories is actually a beautiful thing because everyone deserves to be heard. Isolation breeds abuse, and individuals struggling silently are the victims of abuse. The courts charged Diddy with sexual abuse for violating people at parties or singular events. The victims of healthcare insurance denials span much further than minutes or hours. Healthcare impacts entire lives and potentially the actual ability to live. With insurance companies chronically victimizing individuals, why are they not charged with crimes? People are fighting to survive, and Luigi Mangione's desperate actions is an inflammatory spark revealing that a revolution is coming because desperation is seeping out from concealed abuse. The question is, what kind of revolution will it be? Will it be a revolutionary change for good or a destructive sequence of devastating events? I believe that Luigi was indeed desperate and misguided. Even his erratic behavior now reveals his desperate confusion. He runs, he cooperates, he yells out to the press, and demonstrates inconsistent behavior. He is demonstrating a fish out of water flopping around trying to find some sense of life-saving water. I absolutely feel that there needs to be consequences for his actions, but I recognize that he is a man in need of help. If I was with him and could whisper in his ear, I would tell him, Luigi, I see you trying to find your footing after what you did. It is a shame that it has reached this point, but there is still hope. There's hope for you to find the help you need, and there's hope for you to move forward as a beacon of light, inspiring change. No, I do not condone what you did. But what you have done and what you do moving forward still matters because you are still alive and you still have the ability to make choices. It is never too late to change and make better choices. Just because it may feel like one is swirling down the flushing toilet bowl doesn't mean that you have to give up and embrace the inevitable flush. That spiral is what led to the murder in the first place. Let's change that path. I would tell Luigi to take a deep breath and look at what he did. Then I would ask him to reflect back upon the series of events of what led up to him making the choice to kill, and the series of actions building towards that moment. After he visualized that, I would ask him if he could spot an effective alternative method that would have addressed the problem. Knowing how he's very intelligent, he would probably answer me with no, because nothing else would actually achieve change. And of course I would nod, because that is the face of desperation. He felt he had no other choice as he step by step backed himself into that corner. Do you know what else caused that desperation? Isolation, isolation, isolation. He kept it to himself. He carried that pain alone. And being alone is isolation, pure destructive poison. At this point, of me talking to Luigi, I would tell him that he has a choice. He can either own what he did and stand by his desperate, destructive, mistaken choice to murder by accepting responsibility, apologizing, and look for a path forward regardless of what judgment of consequences imposed upon him, or he could continue to flounder around fighting the courts, struggling with push-pull messaging, seeking ways to avoid inevitable sentencing, and deteriorate the purposeful intent he had when he acted out so desperately. That is what I might say to him. But privately, I would be searching for ways to help him, because it is apparent that he is a man in pain who needs help. The floundering around is a continuation of how confused and struggling he is as he continues to grapple with some very intense destructive emotions. I sure hope that professionals are able to counsel and guide him forward with compassion and understanding so that he may find his peace, as well as provide restorative justice for those affected by the loss of Brian Thompson. So what happens to Luigi now? Well, I imagine he will probably spend the rest of his life in prison. I mean, he chose to commit the crime, and the crime has consequences. He will probably spend the rest of his life in prison, which means he has many years of life to learn more and potentially use his voice to create change. He still lives, and as long as there is breath, there is hope. Personally, this is where I feel the justice system is flawed. Some probably want him put to death, but there is no death penalty, so he will live. But at the same time, he'll be discarded and locked away at the expense of taxpayers for a lifetime, with no recourse of restoration or reformation other than his own choices within his judged circumstance. But that discussion is a whole other can of worms. So back to the revolution. I feel that a revolution is inevitable. It repeatedly happens throughout history. What I hope for is a movement of positive change, because I believe that if approached innovatively, things can change positively. So what needs to change? Well, obviously insurance practices need to be examined. Let's look at what is happening with insurance companies that caused Luigi Mangione to feel he needed to murder Brian Thompson to fix the problem. Luigi sure was desperate, wasn't he? The reason so many people call him a hero is because he did what many secretly desired doing. There are countless desperate, victimized people out there due to the actions of health insurance companies. This tension points out that it is time for change before more needless loss. So what can be done? First, to quote the amazing Michelle Obama, quote, do something. I will go a step further. I will say, speak up, share your stories, email representatives, call news agencies, let your voice and your story be heard. Stand together with others who have been victimized and support each other. That's what I wish Luigi Mangione had done. Speak up and share the journey. See, personally, I feel that one of the most tragic things that happened to healthcare in America was Obamacare. Granted, it did help some, but it carries the stench of government overreach and undermining of American capitalism. The way I feel that Obamacare failed the American people is the fact that by forcing Americans to purchase insurance, it gave a creative sales market to insurance companies. Let's look at it simply. Lobbyists paid out millions and millions of dollars to lawmakers to support Obamacare on behalf of insurance companies. To me, that looks like legislatures are working for insurance companies and not the American people. I don't see insurance companies wanting to pay money to the American people in general. The premise is that costs would stay the same and so forth, but that was a lie. Think of this example. A pack of gum costs $1, give or take. No one has to buy gum, and there are lots of different gum manufacturers. There's a competitive market, and gum is good. Now, imagine if the government passes a law mandating that you must purchase gum every time you make a purchase at a store. Well, with that being the case, gum makers are guaranteed sales. Only a perceived idea of possible fairness would ensure that the companies don't raise prices because they are competing for sales. But it is an illusion. If the insurance companies work together, since they are guaranteed sales, they can regulate whatever pricing they want. The image of competition is a farce. And if they can charge $10 a pack of gum with guaranteed sales, then so be it. At least before Obamacare, an American could choose to refuse to purchase inflammatory insurance plans, thus enforcing the balance of fair pricing. If the prices were too high, not only did insurance companies have to compete against rivals, they had to answer to the customers. Insurance companies genuinely had to provide services at a reasonable purchasable price, because 100% of nothing is nothing. Trump has it right when he says, repeal Obamacare. Desperately and misguidedly, Luigi Mangione apparently feels the same way. It appears that many Americans also feel there is a problem. So what to do? He chose a destructive, mistaken path, but you don't have to. You have power. Again, as Michelle Obama said, do something. Only do it together with your peers and let your voice be heard. Let your votes be heard. Tell your government leaders what you want to see and be loud about it. See the future for healthcare that you want and share your vision. Be the change and make the change. You now have the great Donald Trump coming into office. He will stand and fight for what is right with common sense. Ask and he will fight with you. Speak up. Well, thank you for your time and for listening to me. If you have comments, questions, or any general feedback, please reach out to me at reflectionsfromwithin.net. Sincerely, I am praying for America moving forward. I am James Wiley.